Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Why, hello there.
As always, guys, please do subscribe both channels. Each one does have unique videos. And while we're at it, we want to thank our Patreons for your support, and also those supporting over at Ko-Fi, where you could do a one-time donation or monthly. As you know, obviously, in this draconian world, draconian system, with draconian lockdowns, they really don't like the topics that we discuss.
No, they don't like the topics, and we tend to get in trouble from time to time, too.
Oh, absolutely. But this is our purpose. This is why we come here in the first place at this particular time in this particular location.
Indeed.
So as you see here, Chinese police clash with thousands protesting draconian COVID lockdowns as unprecedented civil unrest grips the country after 10 died in fire, in which building doors were locked to stop the spread. You know, as you guys are probably aware of. I mean, I remember Wuhan when the first things came out, and I remember we were going to do something else, and I looked at the headline and I was like, okay, let's stop everything. This is something really, really big. And this was like when it was just first being mentioned about the plague upon the land, and you could tell this was something really, really big. Is this something really, really big, or is this going to fizzle again? We'll see. Again, in Chinese society, it is one that is used to taking orders perhaps a little bit more than some other societies. There's actually a book that we do have. There's, I forget which one it's in now, but it was basically saying back in early 80s, and I could take a photo of the paper, the page that it's on, and share it with you guys. Now, this just freshly came to mind, but it was basically saying, again, way back in the 80s, that what is desired by the controllers is maybe 500 million to 1 billion people max on the planet, and that they would be of a certain persuasion of which you're looking at it. Why? Because they're used to not questioning authority. And, this is from the Daily Mail, and a lot of the photos are extremely blurry, as you can see. But we do have a lot of other stuff to show you here on Twitter. Shanghai, they're chanting, "Take down the CCP, take down Xi Jinping." Emperor for life. You might be denoted emperor for life, but many emperor for lives, for their life, many Roman emperors, many Caesars, they didn't quite make it. A lot of times throughout history, when we have dictators, eventually the dictators get deposed.
Yeah, they don't seem to always, fulfill everything that they wanted to fulfill.
Yeah, and so is this a sign of hope? Well, yes, that's what we have to take it as, a sign of hope. But we always watch things suspiciously because, again, everything is planned. And the thing to get across is, like, when we look to Albert Pike's famous saying, the way he describes it is the thing we should take from it. When he talks about the need for 3 world wars. Now, Albert Pike, again, he was a Confederate general, and he was also a 33rd degree Mason, and he had ties to certain supremacy, let's just say that, groups. We've been able to contact him. And, he's got a lot of karma to work off. He does. He absolutely has a lot of karma to work off. And so, as you see here, Albert Pike is probably one of the most colorful Masonic figures of the 19th century, and one of the most controversial, from his first use of Lucifer the Light Bearer in Morals and Dogma to being falsely, this is an article from January 24th, 2016, falsely accused of forming the KKK after the American Civil War. But the way that he talks about it is the First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia and making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. Divergences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to get this war to happen. At the end of this war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the governments and in order to weaken the religions. So, Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed. Again, this is from 1871. There was officially no use of the word Nazism that I'm aware of. Maybe somebody has heard that prior to the whole rise of what happened in Germany in the 30s. Again, 1871, this statement is supposedly being made in a letter to the gentleman, Mazzini, that initiated him or brought him into the lodge in the first place. So during the other big thing is Nazism is destroyed. Political Zionism must be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must be strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would then be restrained and held in check until the final time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. After the Second World War, communism was made strong enough to begin taking over weaker governments. In 1945, at the Potsdam Conference between Truman, Churchill, and Stalin, a large portion of Europe was simply handed over to Russia, and on the other side of the world, in the aftermath of the war with Japan, helped to sweep the tide of communism into China. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between political Zionism and the leaders of the Islamic world. This war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on the issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm which will show in all its horror clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origins of savagery, and the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, finally brought out into the public view. So, again, when we look at all this and recognize, again, this is somebody who at this moment in time is very, very regretful about his actions, and is actually having to, he's going to have to burn a lot of karma in order to have a decent next incarnation, and he's going to be spending a lot of time in service to others. When we go down this route, it's a slippery slope. And it could take lifetimes to undo the damage that's done in a single lifetime, as you still see them welding people into buildings, even after a fire basically killed at least 10 people that could not escape. And there is video that shows this, and you could hear the people screaming and begging for them to open the doors in the background.
I mean, it's really horrible, but every time I see this on here, I have to question it. I always have to question, especially anything coming out of China, CCP, and I'm in no way, shape, or form saying that, everything is fine and dandy. But they are very, very good at optics, and since the information is so, filtered, or, they only allow so much information in and out, I just don't know how much of this to take to heart.
All the world's indeed a stage. There's certainly a stage. We've seen a stage over in Ukraine, and then when we first saw everything happening in Wuhan, some of it looked suspiciously like a stage. So, how much is real? How much is part of the drama? What are they trying to get you to believe is the question. Because, ultimately, I think people will be rising up all over the globe. And, that is also what Nostradamus saw. But again, Nostradamus was another one who was he working for? He was working for the crown and the papacy. So he was working for the Illuminati and all these other secret societies too.
Well, he was also just a very gifted individual who had come from a very long lineage and powerful lineage of channels. So they do find people like that, and they would much rather kind of own them and have them work for them than have them do anything that would show others a form of newfound freedom.
Yes, absolutely. So we look at everything, we see what's going on, and we weigh the energies. And sorry guys, whoa, I didn't really want to put anything that was too scary in there, but gosh, that guy is always slipping into every scene there. I mean, wow, that's just creepy. Oh yeah, there we go. China's freedom cry and biggest anti-government protest since Tiananmen Square, as we know. Now, is this something that's being, perhaps, as Albert Pike would say, fomented by the agents of the Illuminati? Is it simply, again, CIA, FBI, which ultimately they are, again, part of the control. They are part of the control. We are brought up thinking that they are searching for bad guys, and many join the ranks of all these different groups, the military. We're going to fight for freedom, and then you find yourself in Afghanistan, Iraq, and you're wondering, what did I do? Many people started to awaken in Vietnam as to what's going on. Now, when you have to use this type of public force to get people to comply with stuff, you're living in a dictatorship. The world is rapidly coming to the realization that the citizens of the world are living in a dictatorship. The citizens of the world are living in a dictatorship. This is something that is starting to hit people. We might think, well, we got some problems in our country, but they got worse problems over there. Again, it's what are we being showed, and why are we being showed it? The problems are systemic throughout the entirety of this globe. The entirety of the globe. And yeah, I do expect that people are going to push back. It would only be logical because, what's happening is there's one channel we were listening to where the guys are in China, and they were talking about knowing people that literally starved to death in big cities because they were barricaded in for, between 30 and 90 days. And they literally starved to death in a massive city. That's just insanity.
It is. It's pretty awful.
It is. It absolutely is. And yet we still have these constructions going on. China, again, we have all these mysterious ghost cities that have skyscrapers and everything in them. They're just missing one thing: people. Well, where are those people going to come from? Some people have theorized that it's from when maybe the coastal cities, because these cities are not being constructed on the coastlines, get wiped out and people have to move farther inland. Most of these cities that are being constructed, and this is something a little different. This is where people go for lockdown for the plague upon the land, at least at this point in time. To me, again, this feels like there is something much, much bigger underfoot. Much, much bigger underfoot. But again, those cities that we're talking about are mostly inland on the western part of China. And here we see people just, you could push people, and even people that are used to taking orders, but you'll find people's limits if you keep pushing.
You will, and every area, every place has its turning point, and we need to find ours because we have enough going on here in our own country, and it just makes me wonder how much more is it going to take before people really do rise up.
So I wanted to go a little bit bigger just to look, because I'm just thinking suspiciously, like, do we see this guy with the purple mask looking upwards in like over here and over here and over here? No, I don't see it. I mean, it does look like this is a real video. But I mean, that's the type of thing you have to look. You have to look and say, okay, is this really 20 people that they've just postered everywhere and stuck them into another scene? You know what I mean? And the reality is, again, the technology that we're used to today with photoshopping and stuff, it actually did exist a long time ago. And, you know, what we look at in our history books is, it doesn't want me to escape now. Escape full screen, exit full screen.
No.
It won't let me exit. So look at how these guys interfere. Let's do this. There we go. Yeah. We get interference all the time when we're making videos. It's constant. And when we did lives, all the time. We can't hear you. Where's your voices? They're all distorting. Yeah, it's the alphabet soups. You know, this is who watches everything, because, again, all your tax dollars go to basically monitoring you, locking you down, and basically funding the death and destruction of everybody on the planet. This is the big awakening. You know, again, it's just so there could be this tiny little cabal, this tiny little group that controls everybody else, and they actually sell out humanity, sell out the planet, just to better themselves. But it's not really bettering themselves, because they're going to have an awful lot of karma, a lot of lifetimes to work through. So as we see, you know, this is something that appears to be all over. This is in Wuhan. This does appear to be all over different areas of China, and it's really the headlines that we see everywhere. Will it lead anywhere? Will it lead anywhere constructive, or is this part of the plan? Is this part of the plan? Because, again, you know, is the ultimate goal universal communism? They don't care what label you're using, whether we use communism or fascism or socialism. You know, ultimately, it's technocratic, and David Icke describes it well when he says it's a technocracy. It's a technological, it's a technological dictatorship of sorts. And this tweet right here, brave people in China are protesting against what 50% of Victoria voted for. You know, that's the perception, but is it the reality? Again, and that's the other part of things, recognizing. And let's go back briefly again to World War I, when we're talking about the end of World War I, and we get the Balfour Declaration. Whose name is on that? It's the Rothschilds. And so, you know, who really recreated Israel? It was, again, these groups led by the Rothschild family and others. Well, outwardly, again, these groups, every family that we know is really, they're just tools when you get down to it. And we see the police bolstering their numbers and people pushing back. It definitely does not go good historically when people depose a previous group. If you go to the history books, you remember the dictator Benito Mussolini. You know, again, you could see what happened to him and his mistress, and it wasn't pretty. And so everything that's happening now, I mean, there will be a karmic backlash, definitely. And all this lockdown is going to result in, you know, just the overflowing of anger. And it's an eventuality that's going to happen. But again, they understand this is going to happen. They understand people are going to push back. So they're always very good at directing that energy in a way that leads us right back to the controllers.
I know. That's why we really need to be careful of how we push back. They would love nothing more for us to stand up, be angry, throw rocks, cause damage, stomp our feet, so they can come and put down new laws, put down new rules. That's their plan. That's their MO. They want reasons to put in new laws. But we don't have to go in that direction. We don't have to go with the full force. We can simply step back and out of the system. It would be like a tent who loses all of its support. Just poof, it's just gone. So it is up to us how we step out of the system.
And of course, as we see here, the mask is off. The WF's Klaus Schwab declares China a role model. And when we get to that point, again, when the new system, when they're rolling in their new system, again, we need to recognize that every single face we see, including, again, this face, pawns. So, is this the true leadership? No, this is not the true leadership. Xi Jinping, 46, whatever we have over there in the UK, whether it's Rishi or Liz or Prince Charles, now King Charles, again, they're all just for show. The real leaders are in the shadows. And they want to remain that way. And here you have Ireland. Government plans to imprison people for possession of hate speech. And so you might tell people, hey, look, make the statement that what violent revolution ever led to a lasting peace? And that could be branded as hate speech. And saying, don't get caught up in the hate, guys. But yes, we need absolute change. Don't let them manipulate you into the hate. And that could be labeled hate speech. Anything that goes against, the power structure could be labeled hate speech. Again, in this upside down, inside out world. Look at this. From NASA, the Mars helicopter successfully completed Flight 29 over the weekend, its first since the start of the winter operations in April. On this 66.6 second flight, Ingenuity traveled 5.5 meters a second for 179 meters. Yeah, 66.6. Again, they play with us with their numerology. So, 666, the number of the beast, and again, we've shared that when we remote view who wrote the book of Revelation, it was a combination of human puppets, Ijiji, and Anunnaki.
Oh, no, yeah, it definitely was not just humans, and when you go through the Bible, you can actually feel that if you're being honest with yourself and you're looking at the wording and you're pulling back your perspective to a point where you can allow for other information to come in, then you can see it was not written by humans by no stretch of the imagination.
No, and the sad fact is it's a long road to awakening the masses to the reality, and we still have people that are fighting the good fight in so many ways, and they're still completely oblivious to the fact that they're still completely in the matrix. And it's only when we are able to recognize the manipulation at every level, which is very uncomfortable, really uncomfortable, and it's dangerously uncomfortable, because people, when they feel that their entire belief structure gets threatened, again, we've had witch hunts on purpose, we've had the Inquisition, the extermination of one group of people after another. We were talking about different groups. Actually, we made the video yesterday. It just came out like a little while ago, 40 minutes ago or so. And when you look to the Cathars, they, like the Knights Templar, they get, they get cooked. There's no other way around it. Again, anybody that comes out with this information that threatens somebody's worldview, even though that worldview is one that's been given to them by the very controllers that they might be trying to awaken people to, but they just don't want to wake up completely. Let me just keep sleeping on this one issue is what we get. Uh-oh, peekaboo, somebody's watching you anytime, every time I should say. We are always being watched. We are always being watched, not just by Big Brother, not just by the CCP, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the OSS, MI6. No. We're being watched by others that are not human, both malevolent, benevolent, everything in between, the other densities. I mean, humanity is being watched at this time because this is a test, and this is a tricky test. Because, again, how are we going to react? Are we going to react in a way that's going to increase our vibrational frequency? Are we going to shed the system?
Sorry, guys.
As the kids come in. Are we going to shed the system in a way that doesn't damage us? That doesn't damage us. You know, and you look at this little baby playing with this pup. And I remember my kids growing up too, and just how much our animals love us. Truly, they look at him wagging his tail. He's loving those kisses. He's loving the baby kisses, and he's just giving love back. And that's a beautiful thing. How do we react to all the chaos and all the violence in a loving way? Because again, these people are truly, absolutely lost. And even though they're doing things that are oppressing humanity, oppressing every animal and everything that's living on this planet, they're the ones that are completely lost.
You know, one thing that we can always do that's going to be the right thing is understand that, yes, you are the example for so many people around you that might be just kind of sort of thinking about waking up. And sometimes when people see someone that's really happy and someone that's just, you know, taking life in for one moment after the next that's full of gratitude, they wonder about you. They wonder, well, what do they have? What do they have? So remember, you are an example for so many.
Absolutely. As always, guys, stay prepared. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.